Welcome to your restorative practice. My name is Tessa. I am so happy to be here with you today. As always, restorative practices tend to be my favorite. So without further ado, let's gather all of our props if we haven't done so already. Restorative practices are always one of the practices that I recommend that you do in bed, or again, gathering pillows and blankets and blocks and chairs and wall space so that you have every single bit of prop to support your body that you desire. Restorative practices are passive in nature, so we want to really prop and support our body so that we're not adding strain and tension, but we're letting all of that melt away. We're going to set ourselves up in one particular shape with our props, and then most likely leave those props as is for the majority of the practice, with a few options for modifications, of course, because we each have different body structures and different needs. So feel free, again, to modify for your needs. So the first setup will make this little yogi ramp. Place a long pillow or two short pillows together, so you have like a vertical cushion for the whole spine, including the back of the head. And then what I would suggest is either you place a folded blanket or towel at the top so that we support the back of the head and a little bit of the cervical spine, or you could also elevate that by folding that blanket underneath the pillows, so you get that elevation that way. So the difference between these two shapes, this one with elevated under the pillow and the one on top, probably going to feel different across the chest. This one where it's flat, probably more stretch sensation across the front of the chest. Where you have it at an incline, probably a little bit more support across the chest, a little bit less sensation, if that makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense to you without trying it, then try it first and see which one suits your needs. Second thing, a rolled up blanket, towel, or pillows underneath the outer edges of the knees. Soles of the feet can come together and knees can go wide. And then we'll just lay on back. And as you lay back, again, just take a few moments to make these adjustments. So I'm using that blanket again, like I said, underneath the back of my head. And then I'm going to just kind of tuck and roll the edge of that blanket one time so that my cervical spine gets that nice extra support. And then I'll start to take my arms out wide. So now I can feel this quite a bit actually across the front of my chest, the front of my shoulder heads, which to me feels pretty good. Having done some upper body strength training this week, that feels really quite nice. But you know, take your time to tune into your body. Notice what you need. And then find a way to utilize the props around you, whether that means you're getting up and you're going to lie down into bed and making this shape. You have like a little diamond with the legs. And the upper body just reclining. Now I welcome you to here, close the eyes if that's something that feels good to you, if it's something that feels safe. And then can you start to bring your awareness to your breath? And as you bring your awareness to the breath, there are these qualities to the breath that we begin to become aware of, which are texture. So there's a sensation as you breathe in through the nose. As you feel that breath move down the back of the throat, fill up the rib cage and the belly. And then the sensation on the reverse, notice how that feels. That rush of air in and out through the nose. So texture of the breath. And then temperature of the breath. There is a slight difference in temperature. It's just a few degrees on the inhale versus the exhale. So the inhale tends to be slightly cooler. And the exhale tends to be slightly warmer. And that's the job here, is to settle, to find stillness, to support your body in a kind and loving way, and to practice becoming aware of the breath. This inhale, this exhale. If you tend to have a very busy mind, which is true of most of us, we have busy minds, and that's the job of the mind, and that's okay. We don't need to chastise or judge the mind for doing its job. But the practice here in the practice of meditation and yoga is to harness the mind, to focus it on a particular point. So the breath in this way is that anchor point. This inhale, this exhale. If you find that helpful, that might become like your little mantra. This inhale, this exhale. You can repeat that out loud to yourself. You can repeat it silently. You don't have to repeat it at all. These are just options. We'll take 2 more breaths here in this shape. Deep breath in, deep breath out. One last time, big breath in, big breath out. Now, if your arms are stretched out wide, take your hands down to the outer thighs and help your knees come together, and planting your feet on your mat, and walk your feet wide. We'll start to draw the knees right to left here. I'm going to leave my little bolster underneath my knees where it is, because I find it helpful support. And again, remember the goal here in our restorative practice It's not about seeking sensation. It's not about that deepest stretch or that becoming more flexible or mobile. That can be a side effect of this practice, but it's not the goal. So there's a difference there. And I want you to take a moment to acknowledge that and notice how you might approach that in your own particular body, in your mind, in your practice. And so we're going to pause with the knees off to one side. My knees are facing off towards the right. Again, I still have this bolster underneath the backs of my knees. It provides a nice support. So a little bit of rotation for hips. It might be a little bit of sensation again that is secondary. We're finding that place where we can be at peace in the body. The body becomes a safe space where you can rest, where the tension can melt away. If it calls to you, if it's appropriate for you and your knees and your hips, you can always take that right ankle. So my knees are off to the right. So my right ankle, I can rest it on my outer left thigh. Only if that works for your body. Again, without causing tension, without causing extra tension. There might be a little bit of sensation, as long as that's not the aim or the goal. You settle in here to stillness, anchor back into your breath. Relax your toes, your fingers. Relax your ankles and your wrists. This inhale, this exhale. Take 2 more breaths here. If you have your right ankle crossed on top of your outer left thigh, slowly release that. Start to walk your feet back to the mat and the knees pointing up towards the ceiling. Take a moment, pausing with the knees knocking in towards one another. Deep breath into the belly. Deep breath out. And then when you're ready, we'll start to draw the knees in the opposite direction. So my knees are pointing off to the left. It's okay to add or remove props on opposing sides, depending on what the body is calling for. Just take a moment to notice here what you need. Give yourself a little compassion or a lot of compassion. And settle in when you're ready. There's always that option if it makes sense for your joints, knee joints in particular, pay attention to that. For that left ankle to cross on top of the outer right thigh. And key indicator that this is something that's sustainable to you is the breath. Can you breathe deeply? Can you stay consistent with that? And are you holding tension elsewhere in the body? The jaw, fingertips, toes, wrist, ankles. The tension tends to move outward from that concentrated area. Usually that's a good sign to back out or add an extra layer of support. As you settle in here, find that breath. This inhale, this exhale. Last 2 breaths here. If you have that left ankle crossed, uncross it. Gently start to bring the knees back up towards the ceiling, soles of the feet plant. Take a moment, letting the knees knock in towards one another. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. For this next shape, I'm going to give us a couple of different options depending on needs. We'll start off by either rolling off to a side and pressing up to a seat, or you can press right into elbows and forearms and gently lift the torso. We'll come back to that shape, that diamond shape with the legs, soles of the feet together and knees wide. I'm going to, again, leave my bolster underneath the outer knees for that level of support that works for me. And then I'm just going to take a few moments here to scoot back on my sits bones. I can even reach down and pull the flesh underneath the sits bones back so I can feel the bony protrusion of my sits bone rooting down into the mat. So here's option number one. We fold forward from here, layering on any kind of pillows, blocks, a chair in front of you underneath the belly. That makes sense. Okay. If forward folding is really challenging for your neck, your back, your knees, whatever, you can take this shape and do it at the wall. So all you would do is lay on your back and make the soles of the feet come together. Let your knees widen out to the side. Sits bones can be in contact with the wall, but they don't have to be in that shape. Just so that you're creating that little opening for inner thighs while hinging at your hips. And you will, at the wall, have a 90-degree angle hinge. So it is still a forward fold. It's just on your back. All right. So start to assemble your shape. Allow yourself to adjust, layer on your props. Give yourself some grace. Be kind and gentle with your body. Notice your breath here. You stick with that inhale, that exhale through the nose. Maybe silently repeating this inhale, this exhale. Last 2 breaths here. We'll start to either sit upright if you were coming from a seated forward fold. If you're on your back with your legs at the wall, you could stretch your legs up the wall, just kind of straightening out through the knees. You can remain at the wall if you're happy there, or you could come back to your mat that same way we started. And then the difference now, stretching the legs straight forward. Roll through the ankles, point and flex the toes. Now I'm going to invite you to come back to your back in a nice supported Shavasana. So if that means you end in the same way you began, that bolster, the pillows supporting the back of the head, the whole length of the spine. You're more than welcome to lay on back like I am. You want to move that stuff out of the way and just lay flat on your back. That's also welcome. If you want to stay with legs up the wall, again, welcome. This is your body, this is your practice, it's your choice. Let's take a deep breath in together as we settle. Open the mouth, exhale the air out. Feel your shoulders release away from your ears and a slight tilt of the chin in towards the chest. This inhale, this exhale. Nothing left to do. Just allow yourself to be here. Shavasana. If you have more time to spare in your day, please feel free to stay longer. If you need to move on, start to slowly awaken through your fingertips and your toes. You can move your head side to side if that feels good on the neck. If you like, you can reach your arms overhead, breathing into the length of the body. Stretch through your fingertips all the way down to your toes. And then exhaling, you're coming from your back body, rolling off to a side, bending the knees. And then making your way to an upright seat. Feel free to prop your sits bones with one of your cushions or blankets or your chair, whatever you have. Feel your sits bones root, feel your spine grow tall, feel your shoulders relax. If you'd like to join me, placing the hands flat against the heart, bowing the chin into the chest. We'll take a moment here to honor our practice with reverence and gratitude. May we use the fruits of this practice to serve our highest good, to reach our highest potential. May we share it with those around us that we love and who could use healing. Together we send love and healing to all sentient beings around the world that may be suffering. May they be happy. May they be free. Namaste, yogis. Thank you all so much for joining me today. This wouldn't be possible without you, so thank you again and again for showing up. And I hope you come back again soon. I hope you take care of yourselves in the meantime and stay well.